Hey, Magic Makers, I have a great show for you today. This is, this right now, what I'm sharing with you is a labor of love. This has been a labor of love. I have been thinking about this for years, and actually, it's a process that I've been going through for the last several years. So several years ago, I found myself with unexplained weight gain, and my belly was just like, "Ugh, let's not even talk about it." And I spent the last several years just really taking a deep dive into like what is causing belly fat, what is going on with my body, especially many of us who are listening. You're like you hit 40 and your body was like, what the hell? Like basically gave you the finger, and you're just like, you're doing all the right things, and you're just so frustrated. And so if this sounds like you, keep listening, because I'm really going to go deep into the new program that I have coming up called Cracking the Belly Fat Code. And so if you're someone who's looking to get rid of belly fat, then this is for you. I've created a coaching program that has is really around for women over 40 to talk really about belly fat, so that you won't, I don't want you to feel like you have to walk in someone else's shoes when you do this program. I've been part of those programs where I felt like, certain things just didn't apply to me, and I was like, oh, and then I pretty much tapped out. And I know that over the years, you may have done other group, health coaching programs, virtual programs, in-person training. And I know that you come with a graveyard of baggage, because Lord knows I got a graveyard of diet baggage with me. And I get that. And, that was me. And then I asked myself, if I went back to the beginning of my journey, what would I have wanted? Who would I have wanted to work with? What would I have needed? And best of most of all, I was like, sure, you can give me all the information under the planet, but how the hell am I going to apply this in my life? Right? It's like it's different to have information, but I want that information, but I want to understand how I can apply that specifically to my life, because I know many of you, you're special snowflakes, right? So, how do you take it based on what's going on with you in your life? So what I just said to myself is like, okay, it took me a while to figure this out, because I remember when I was going through this, and the coach I was working with at the time, and she's like, Kim, at some point this mess is going to be a message. And I was like, I know, but for me, I need to see my way through, right? Because many of you are going to come on the journey with me, and I'm like, I don't know where this journey is going to end. And I know that some of you listening, you want that certainty. You want to know that if I do this, I am going to get the solid result. And I do know you're going to get a result. I do know that. Can I guarantee you that's going to happen in 2 weeks? Can I guarantee that's going to happen in 2 months? No, but I do guarantee you that over the course of the 12 weeks that we work together, I know that you are going to develop some amazing habits that are going to lead to amazing routines. And that's where you're going to find effortless weight loss. That's where you're going to find your belly fat start to dissipate, and that you're going to be able to understand how to navigate in your life, right? That's the biggest thing. Any of us can navigate when like life's perfect, everything's lined up just so. But when things aren't lined up just so, what do you do? How do you manage that? And so that's what Cracking the Belly Fat Code is. It's this 12-week coaching program that's designed. I'm only taking 50 women, right, to take them through my 3-step framework to help them to better understand their attitude towards weight loss, how to prepare for staying the course when, shit go wrong, because shit do go wrong, and how to consistently apply your efforts how, for life, right? So it's not this do this for 30 days. And then I'm like, what happens on day one? Do this for 75. What happens on day 76? I want you to know that you're like, we're going to be together for 90 days, but you will have a plan for day 91. You will have a day for day 201, right? So, but before I even walk down here, belly fat code isn't for everyone. This is for women who have gotten results in the past, but you feel like, you hit 40 and your body was just like, girl, that's who this is for, right? This is, I want this to be a small, intimate container. I always work with small groups, because I don't want you to ever feel like you're just another image on the Zoom screen, or another name that comes across in a Facebook group, trying to get, my attention. I've limited the size of this group because I want every single woman who joins me to feel seen, to feel supported throughout this journey. I want you to feel that Kim knows me. Kim knows that I have a dog. Kim knows that I have kids. Kim knows that I can't do 4 million things. I have a kid who is heavily involved in sports. I want you to feel like I know you, so that as we start to navigate this journey together, I'm like, you know what, girl, do you really think you can take that on right now and really help you to evaluate what's happening with you in your life right now? And in cracking the belly fat code, you're going to interact with me in three different ways. In the past, I've just done one channel where it's like, it was a group program and you got to talk to me in the Facebook group and you got to talk to me on the group calls. And I found that some people are like, you know what, they wanted a little bit more touch. And so I've broken this into three ways that were actually four touch points. We're going to have like a quarterly, we're going to have a kickoff call. So once a quarter, we meet and we're like, okay, this is the goal of the program. Then monthly, we are going to have um, one-on-one calls so that you can say, this is based on your intake form that you'll submit once you are part of the program. These are your goals. And then I'm going to say, okay, based on your goals, this is how you're going to apply this month's learning. And then the next month we meet, I'll be like, okay, you were told to do A, B, and C. How did it go? And then we can start to say, okay, where do we have to tweak? Where do we have to change? What do we have to do to get you even more success? Or maybe you didn't have success. And so I'm like, okay, maybe what we did was a little too aggressive, or life came at you a little bit faster than you thought. So how do we tweak? But you don't have to wait for the next month's call. You'll have access to me through a Facebook group. You could also shoot me an email, but there will also be weekly calls that I'll be working through that month's module that we're working on. And then you can have open questions at the end of these calls. You could also put it in the Facebook group, or again, you could also reach me via email. And when you're accepted into the belly fat code, you're going to take in this intake form. And then that way I'll understand what you're trying to accomplish, what the curriculum is, and make sure that I weave that into the curriculum so that I know that where you are now and the information that you want to learn during our time together. And then we'll create a personal plan for you based on the curriculum. And that way you can benefit from personal coaching as well as the group environment, because, believe it or not, we're all kind of trying to navigate this whole belly fat thing. And so I'm sure there's someone who might be in a very similar situation than you are. And so you might be able to, say, I might be like, you know what? Sarah is in the same situation. This is what Sarah did. Will this work for you? Plus any other, tidbits that I might have encountered from past clients, because every member who's part of this group is going to get one monthly 20-minute personal coaching call from me. And you get 3 of them during the course of the program. And then each month we'll do a focus based on the belly fat curriculum. That's a tough word to say. So the belly fat curriculum, let me just kind of walk you through at a high level. So there's three pillars of the belly fat code. The first is our choices. And so a choice starts with our mindset. And there's 4 different types of mindset. Many of us are like, this is how it's supposed to be. This is how life is. And we're going to work, if that's your mindset, we're going to work with you to start to see like how we can start to unpack that mindset for you. Some of you are, rigid, like you're like, this is the way I do it. And you're like hesitant to try something new. I had a girl who was in the early action, and she's like, well, if I don't see results in a couple weeks, I'm out. And I'm like, but I was like, what are results, right? How are you measuring these results? Because in 2 weeks, like that's putting a lot of expectations on yourself. That's putting a lot of pressure on yourself. And me as a coach, I can give you the best strategy under the planet, but if you don't apply it, it doesn't matter. You're not going to get the results, right? So in that case, I want you to start to think about, if you're looking for like a quick fix, if you're looking for instantaneous results, this is the program for you. I am here to teach you that it is more about, if I create a great process, the outcome is inevitable, right? That's how rock solid I want your mindset to be. Here's where I also think about, we want to start to respect our roadblocks. Know that every time I start something or every time I do something, what are some of the things that always pop up for me? What are some of the things that is it work? Is it kids schedule? Is it kids sports? Like, is it aging parents? Like, what is it that pops up for me? So we can start to say, okay, have this if then thinking around that. And like the first piece is our mindset, because if we don't have a great mindset, it doesn't matter whatever strategy I put for you, because some of you are just gonna just shit on it, be like, no, that's not gonna work for me. Tried that, been there, done that. And it's like, here's where we have to like really start to zero in and focus in on that mindset. Then we can move into our choices, right? We always are like, what the fuck do I eat? That's always a question that we get from a lot of different people. And so we're going to talk about that. And how does your food have to change a bit as we move into this 40 something body, so that we are always making sure that we're not hungry, we have great energy, our cravings are in check, our mood's great, and we are sleeping like a champ. Then it's exercise, right? Some of us have been doing the same type of exercises for decades, and maybe we are great at doing that. Awesome. But maybe some of us are like, you know what? We just can't exercise the way we did in our 20s and 30s. And so now we have to kind of look at, where do we prioritize our time when it comes to exercise? Maybe I'm overtraining right now for what my body's able to deliver. Then we're going to look at, stress, because that's a big thing. I'm a recovering stress ball. So we're going to look at stress and how we can best manage that. And ultimately, we're going to look at sleep, right? For me, I think two of the most low hanging fruits for a lot of people are stress management and sleep, right? So here's where we can start to unpack that. The next place, I call it code, right? And so here's where we start to create strong habits. And it's not habits where you think I should have these habits. These are habits that you're like, you know what? It's something that's realistic for me. I'm excited about trying it. I can make a plan for it in my life. And at the end of the day, it's not like I could do this for 30 days. I can do this for 14 days. This is like, you know what? This is setting me up for life. This is a behavior, because without behavior change, nothing else matters. And so here's where we're going to really start to focus in on creating our processes that will ultimately drive the behaviors that we're seeking. And then one of my like hallmarks, and many of you have, if you've been following for a while, you've heard me talk about non-negotiables, right? Here's where we create non-negotiables so that no matter where I am in life, I don't have to focus on them. It's just something that I do. And, many of you know that one of my, I have three non-negotiables. This is how it started. I have three non-negotiables of how it started. And it has brought me to where I am now, where I'm like, you know what? This is just what I do. I don't even think about it. It's like, this is what I do. And I had to make them so like stupid simple. And the first place I go is, I had a big ass salad, right? Because then I knew I was getting in my fiber. I add protein to that. So I know I'm getting protein in that meal. So I had protein and fiber. Second, 7 hours of sleep. I used to like work in the morning all the time. I was up at 5:30 to go train a client. And well, I had a client at 6. I mean, I was up at 5 so I could leave my house at 5:30. And I just was not sleeping because I was always nervous. Am I going to oversleep? Am I going to oversleep? Am I over going to oversleep? I did once, and literally it's been almost 10 years and I still freaking remember it, that oversleeping moment. And then my last one was, I moved my body 30 minutes a day. And when you notice how I said move, so it could be anything. And so I had to make them so simple and easy that I can easily put them into my life. And that's what we're going to work with for you. And finally, we're going to work on the consistency piece, right? This is the piece, the consistency and commitment. This is the piece that everyone just like, it'll come. I'll do it. I'll just use willpower. I'll just use motivation. Well, how's that working out for you, sister? So here's where we kind of start to say, what is going on? And I like to do this, I talk about seasonality with my clients, and I'm going to talk about seasonality with you. I want to have us look at, in 90-day chunks, like what's going on in this month, right? Are you someone who's like, the holidays, you might be traveling, you might be the hostess, and that might not be a time for you to like, say you're going to the gym 2 hours a day. So how do you still honor your health without tapping out, right? How does that happen? If I do stumble, how do I learn from that failure? How do I ultimately make this lifestyle a healthy routine? And how do I scale it back, right? So many people come to me in the all or nothing. I'm a recovering all or nothing. And I have this list. I want to do all the things. And then I'm like, but what if I told you, pick one thing, get freaking good at it, and then move on to the next thing. One thing, get good at it, move on to the next thing. Because trust me, it's kind of like, I want you to think about the tortoise and the hare, right? The tortoise was like, slow and steady, slow and steady. And the hare was like, I'm going balls to the wall, balls to the wall. Who won the race, right? I would rather you be tortoises than be hares, right? So that's where we really want to focus. And each week we'll meet as a group. I will go over some piece of the curriculum as well as incorporating some of the things that some of the things, many of the things you've brought to me as this is what I'm trying to achieve over the course of 90 days. And so that I can wrap it in to be like, okay, this is how you would apply it to this, right? And so that way you can kind of see where you need to plug in some of your holes in your process. And then at the end of each weekly call, I'm available for personal coaching. So that way we could talk about you and your plan. If you had a great win, if you have a struggle, I'm there to help support you as you go through this. Plus, any questions that you might have about the curriculum or about anything else that might be popping up in your life. And this is on top of the separate you get 3 one-on-one calls during this program. I'm going to alternate the days of the week of the group calls. So that way, you know, I know me, my schedule is a little wonky, but I want to make sure that as many of you can, hop on the calls live. Yes, there will always be a recording and it will go right into the private portal. But I also just want to make sure that, as many of you can have the opportunity to be on the call live. Because I want to, when you join the Belly Fat Code, I want to make sure that you feel supported. I want you to don't feel like, you're on this island and that you're not getting the support that you need. On top of that, I will have a private Facebook group. If you're not a Facebooker, that's okay. You don't need to join the Facebook. You can have access to me via this app called Volley. And so that way you can leave me a voice message or a video message, something that'll just make it a little bit easier for you. And you can ask questions there because I know some people aren't Facebook people, and I totally get that. And then you'll also have access to my Fit Girl Magic Society. It's my monthly group coaching program. And in there, you'll have access to recipes. I do a monthly podcast in there. I also do workouts are in there as well, and I do some challenges. So you'll have access to that on top of this program. So if this sounds amazing and you're like, okay, Kim, I'm in. If you're listening to this in real time, enrollment starts on November 7th. And so you can start to apply for the program then. If you are not listening to real time, make sure you add yourself to the wait list because I will be running this program again in spring of 2023. All right, ladies, I hope that this has been a great overview. Again, if you have any questions and you're listening in real time, do me a favor, reach out to me. You know where to find me. You can find me on the interwebs. I'm Kim Jefferson Coach. On Instagram, I am Kim Barnes Jefferson. On Facebook, or you can email me at hello@kimbarnesjefferson.com. All right, have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you next week.